Well, on my third welcome to Plathville video responses that I did, I knew this was going to touch a hot topic, and I talked about the body and female body and shame, and I got several comments from people, and I thought I'd spend a few minutes giving some responses to some of your comments. I thought there's some good comments and some good questions, and some not so much, but we'll see. We'll respond to these and see the best I can. So here's one that comes from Victoria Lee. Victoria said, actually, I have to disagree with you that Christians don't teach you to be ashamed of your body. First off, I want to say is, you're not disagreeing with me, because at no point in the video did I say Christians don't teach you to be ashamed of your body. Never said Christians. Christianity does not teach that. That is to say, in the Christian worldview, there's nothing in the teaching of Jesus or the early church that says that the human body is shameful. The human body, there's no teaching in the New Testament that teaches that. Certain Christians might say that, and I fundamentally disagree with them, and I said that in the video. And in general, I don't know about her particular situation, but in general, conservative Christian homes do not teach at all that the body's something to be shamed. In the Christian worldview, at least, had they said that, the Christian worldview, that's gibberish. God designed the human body and sexuality, and it's a good thing. Certain Christians might say that, and I wouldn't doubt that some do. They're wrong to say that. That's not Christianity. Christianity is formed by the teaching of Jesus in the early church, and so you don't disagree with me on that one. And that's okay to disagree with me, it's just that's not what I said. So some Christians might do that. Christianity doesn't teach that. Then she said, I was taught that if I was showing a shoulder, then men would lust after me, and I should be ashamed of that. And Victoria, I'm so sorry you were taught that. I think that's just ridiculous and sad, and I'm sorry you were taught that. You shouldn't have been taught that. That's silly. That's silly. Your body is not shameful because a man lusts after you. Let me say one more thing about that. Matter of fact, this is why, another reason why people should actually study the Bible well, because people don't understand these things. When Jesus says in Matthew that he says, you've heard that it said, do not lust after one, but I say, do not have an affair, don't have adultery, but I say, don't even lust after someone. No one in the ancient world told men not to lust. They didn't. They told women not to lust, but Jesus makes it even playing ground. The point is, there's moral responsibility on the person who's looking, not the person who's showing. So the very fact that you were taught that, and I'll believe you, the fact that you were taught that you should be ashamed of yourself because someone else lusted is simply false, bad theology. That's not Christian teaching. Jesus never said such a thing. That's silly. So I'm sorry you were taught that. And then you say, that didn't come from my parents, that came from other people. And I go, okay, I don't know who that is, but okay, I'm sorry that you were taught that ever by other people. It was mortifying and it was shameful. And I know I'm not alone in that experience. And my response is, you're probably right. That's unfortunate. Your male body was praised. Well, thank you. No, it wasn't at all. I was made fun of incessantly for being too pale and redheaded all my entire childhood, all my life. So you actually don't know my experience either. And he says, while our bodies were sinful. Again, if you were taught that, that's a shame, or I shouldn't use that word, that was silly and false and wrong and despicable. They should never have done that. There's nothing, and once again, I'll say this like I said in the video, there's nothing in Christian teaching that teaches the body is shameful. Nothing in Christian teaching. In the New Testament, let me say it that way. Okay. Then you said, please talk to women and listen to women. I agree. I do, and I have. Thank you, and I'm doing that right now. Thank you, Victoria. Pole isn't my forte per se. However, doing a class was a way to touch into my sexuality with no judgment. And I go, oh, that's probably why you said about your, I guess that is, you feel maybe you got judged because I talked about pole. You can do it if you want to, okay, I guess. Okay, so anyway, thank you, I understand. So anyway, Victoria Lee, I'm sorry that you were taught that ever. That's unfortunate. I disagree with all the lessons they taught you on that. There's nothing to be ashamed of your body. The body is designed by God. It works great. It's awesome. So Joshua says, Doc, and Doc reminds me of Back to the Future, which is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. It would be helpful if you could articulate how the Christian view is not the same as teaching women to be ashamed of their bodies. For many, saying, quote, it's shameful to show certain parts in public, which is what I said, is indistinguishable from that. Why aren't they the same thing? Thanks, loving the content. Joshua, good question. So what's the distinction between teaching women should be ashamed of their bodies? And so by that I mean that I find no reason to believe that in the Christian worldview, after all my experience and study in 3 degrees, I find no biblical reason whatsoever to believe that the female body is inherently, or for any other reason, shameful. By shameful, we use synonyms like disgraceful, deplorable, despicable. There's nothing in the biblical worldview, certainly not in the teaching of Jesus, and certainly not in the early church, that said that the female body is something to be ashamed of, while the male body is glorious and wonderful and awesome. There's nothing in the New Testament that teaches that whatsoever, not at all. So at no point ever should a Christian say ever to anyone else, especially say their children or another person, oh look, male, oh that's glorious and awesome, you must be just like Jesus. Oh, female body, ugh, gross, disgraceful, sinful, gross, ugh. There's nothing about their anatomy or their body parts that make one inherently shameful and one I'm not. There's nothing, and that's exactly my point in the video. There's no reason why, and I said over and over in the video a few times, while these are the people in the video, Plathville, they might have been taught that individually in their homes, and I don't doubt there are families who teach that. What I disagree fundamentally is that, having spent most of my entire life around conservative Christians, I have never in my life been around ever conservative Christians that say that female body is shameful, male body is great and good and glorious and righteous. I've never heard that. I've never been taught that. I've never read a book on that. I've never read an article on that. Never in my entire life. While individual people might have heard that, I will say is okay, and I believe you. I'm saying that's ridiculous. You should never have been taught that. So when I say it's shameful to show certain parts in public, what there it means, of course, is we would say in Christianity it is sinful, or at minimum it's unhealthy for you to show genitalia or parts that are used for sex. And that's why I said in the video, I would say certain naked parts of yourself that are used during sex. So obviously we don't usually use my forearm during sex. At least I haven't yet, I guess, in my marriage. I have to think about that for a little bit. My point is, the average kind of view is that's the average normal Western view, is that those things are not used part of sex. The parts that are, I cover up, and that's just normal. There's no biblical verse that says to cover that up. It's an implication that, since in the Christian world, according to the teaching of Jesus, and this assumption that men and women should be married before they have sex, and I could go on a different video for that, read Matthew 19. Because of that, it would be not appropriate to uncover parts that are used for sex. But the body itself is not shameful at all. Okay, Carol Williams says, our culture teaches women to be ashamed of their bodies. And right off the bat, thank you, Carol. My first immediate thought is when people say our culture, I'm saying, what do you mean our? Because when I think of culture, I think of the definition of it, which of course is a set of beliefs and behaviors of a certain common people group. And so I think, does Carol live near me? Does she live down the road? Does she live in my neighborhood? Does this mean American? Does this mean white? Does that mean global? I don't know what that, English speaking. I mean, I don't know what that means. So I immediately go, I don't know what our culture is. Teaches women to be ashamed of their bodies. So the first is, what do you mean by culture? The second thing is, I go, well, then she must not mean my culture, because I don't know of anything whatsoever. I have never in my entire life heard that I can think of. I've never heard of anybody in my group that says women should be ashamed of their bodies. I haven't. Now, maybe I've heard it and didn't notice it. Maybe I'm just so male egocentric it passed through my ears. Maybe I've never heard that in my entire life. Anyway, then Carol says, I think you really need to take another look at this and get a better understanding of women's experience. And then I would say is, you may be exactly right, Carol. Then thank you so much. You're right. Maybe I'm obtuse, so maybe I don't know enough of women's experience. And maybe that's exactly right. It's just that that's not the point of my video at all. I didn't say in the video, women never hear this. I never said women are never taught to be ashamed. I never said never. I mean, I didn't say those things. I do know I was raised for many, many years by a single mom. We've had billions of hours of talks about what it's like to be a woman, and I'm married to a woman, and I've had a sister, and so I've been around women a lot of my life. But you don't have to say, maybe you're right. Just my video had nothing to do with that. But maybe you have in your experience, and I said that in the video. If you have, I'm so sorry to hear that, because you should never have been taught that, and that's ridiculous, and that's sad and silly and ridiculous that the female body is bad or dirty or shameful. Anyway, thank you so much. Love your body. Yay. If you have more comments, let me know. I'll do my best to read them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something from it. If you don't mind, click subscribe, share this video with your friends, click like, and hey, write some comments down there. Let us know what you think about what I said. See you online.